Please join me in welcoming Michael Keaton.
Thanks. This is a treat for me, for the obvious reasons. Anytime anybody honors you anywhere, I don't take that stuff for granted. But I'm particularly happy to be here because I am a kind of small-time collector. I own a couple of Smiths in my house, and I'm fascinated by the process. And tonight I think we would discuss a little bit about what actually happens when you expose cellular to light, and you know, we kind of take this amazing thing for granted, and since I've been here, I've been so educated. I just did a movie called The Founder about Ray Kroc, and that's about the beginning of McDonald's, and you hear the name Ray Kroc, and you'll think to yourself, oh yeah, I know who Ray Kroc is, and then you realize I have no idea who Ray Kroc is, and that's how it is about Mr. Eastman. This is an extraordinary person, and I cannot wait to go to the museum today. And speaking of which, we have 60 members of the staff here, I think, right? Correct? Yeah. So everybody give them a round of applause. Thanks for coming. And what else? That's it. So thanks for having me. I'm gonna go home and go back to sleep. No, let's talk.
Michael, good to see you again, Jack.
Thanks. How are you?
Good to see you. I have sort of a two-parter. I'm going to cheat a little bit.
No, Jack, you only get one.
Well, the first one is that it follows on what you just said. I know for a fact, for example, that when they tried to put the real films together for the Michael Keaton film series, they couldn't find a good print of Night Shift.
Wow, really?
So that is an indication of just one of hundreds of indications of the importance of film preservation, which is done here, and I'm wondering what you think about film.
I learned that how much you would think I would know this, but I didn't. I didn't know how what film preservation means here. How that this is probably the epicenter of where film preservation is because of Scorsese and all the people involved. I think Ron Howard's going to do something about it. I mean, look, maybe it's, the longer you live, you feel this way, but I say preserve almost everything because, we look at some buildings that they just ripped down now, and not to mention how much of the earth they ripped down now, but we film motion pictures. I mean, culturally, movies, what it means is extraordinary, and I don't think I really got that when I started doing this, for a living. But the more you do it, sometimes it took me a long time. I guess I'm a little thick for it to sink in how important it is, and so I'm all about that. Now that said, there's the whole digital. I don't think it's even a controversy. It just is what it is. And I was telling someone the other day. I don't think I've been in a film that wasn't shot. I've been in a movie. I can't even call it a film that wasn't shot digitally. I'm going to say the last 6 I've done probably. I can't remember. I don't do them all that often, but it's been a long time. In fact, I directed a little film called The Merry Gentleman, and I really wanted, we could have shot it digitally, but I really wanted to shoot it on film, because I thought I probably won't get another chance to do that, frankly, if and when I direct another movie. But I wanted to get one down that was on film, and I was, have that experience.
The other question, Michael, if I may, sort of unrelated.
This is part 2, right, Jack?
Part 2. This is part 2.
Don't try to slide like
then I'll bail. There's a sense that we as film goers and admirers of your work have, that although you've been very popular and worked really hard over many years, there's something that happened with Birdman and then Spotlight and then seemingly with The Founder, which has a fabulous trailer,
Yeah.
that you've kind of reached another echelon, a really
Yeah.
higher echelon. Are you aware of that, and how do you feel about it?
To some degree I am, but there's some movies that I did out there that, maybe a lot of people didn't see that, that I'm real proud of. And, but yeah, when you talk about, as an example, Birdman has to almost be in its own category, I mean, I seriously doubt I'll ever be in anything that will equal that experience, because the experience in making it was unlike anything else. And he's such a bold filmmaker. And when he called and wanted to meet me at Alejandro, I didn't waste a minute. In fact, I was working on a movie, and I had literally like one day to fly to LA and get back to work, because I had seen, I think, almost every one of his films. Maybe I didn't see one of them, and that's the kind of company you want to be in. So, and Spotlight is something, I did a little movie. It was an okay movie. It was called My Life, but I always thought, if this all ends tomorrow, that's really something to have out in the world, And I have people walk up to me, young guys sometimes. It's always men, because if you've seen the movie, it's a little hard to watch if you're a guy, but walk up to me and tell me what that meant to them. So I thought, if nothing else, I did something like that, contributed something like that. And there are others, but yeah, I think that there's been a bump, but if you look at athletes' careers sometimes, even though, your peak years are when you're young as an athlete, there's still some athletes who, there's ups and downs. But in my business, I was knew there was going to be ups and downs, and I look at them as ups and downs. I just kind of look at it as, I don't think I think about it that much, frankly. But this is the quality of the films recently have been great, and I think a lot of people think that's just happened, and in a way it has. But I've done a lot of stuff to kind of that was never seen. I think if you stick around long enough, you're just gonna bump into something good.
Michael, I have a question. This award obviously recognizes people for their contribution to film. When you look back at your career, which is kind of going off Jack's question as well, what do you feel your contribution has been? What are the highlights for you?
The fact that I made the contribution is still kind of amazing to me, honestly, because I just look at it as it's my job. It's what I'm supposed to do. I have a kind of a working man's approach to it. But then, like I was saying, when you start, even when you look back at your own, usually you're reading about other people, what they've done in the world, and you never really, at least I don't really, until recently, start thinking about what it's kind of like when you start to tell stories to somebody you're sitting around having a beer with, somebody you're talking to, some of your friends or somebody, you tell this story of something that happened in your life. You get to this point in your life where you go, I'm actually become one of those people who actually have stories now. You never think, well, I don't have stories, people have stories, not me. And then you go, wow, I've got a lot of stories. So it's kind of like that. And so it feels really good, honestly. That's as simple as I can say. It feels really good to know that you've made a contribution to this art form. Most of the time it's an art form. You try to be in something that brushes up against art, I mean, my goal every time is to push in that direction, no matter. And did a little movie, it wasn't a little movie, called The Other Guys, which is one of the most fun experiences I've ever had, because Adam McKay is so fun to be around. It was a little silly role, but I look at it the same way as I go to work, the same way as anything. If you're a closer in baseball, you might only, you pitch an inning, but you pitch that inning like you're a starter. You don't think about it like this is all I can do. So that's the way I look at it. I just go to work and try to make it as good as I can every time. And in fact, I try to make it better every time.
Michael, in that same light, in your 30 plus years of contributing to film, you've worked with a a lot of prolific directors. Over the last couple of years, you've worked with Alejandro Inarritu, who's been golden the last 10 or 15 years or so. John Lee Hancock, the founder, Adam McKay, as you said. And you've worked with a lot of different actors. Is there anything, and you have such a vast portfolio, as like you said, comedy, drama, is there anything you haven't done in your career that you want to do in film? And is there anyone you want to work with that you haven't worked with?
In film, there's nothing I haven't done. In life, I haven't split an atom. I'm trying to do, working hard on that. In my basement. Yeah, I've got some mutant animals I've created. Yeah, I think yes. The answer to that is yeah, there's stuff out there that I haven't done, even though, I mean, it's nice to think that I've kind of done everything. I don't think that'll, yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff. If you said like what, I couldn't specifically say, well, I would like to play a guy who does this, or a woman who does this, and this. That'd actually be interesting. I'm actually serious. I don't know, I always thought it was the job, frankly. I thought that was your job, when I started doing this. I remember when I was young, I was a big, I still am actually, James Cagney fan. And isn't Cagney's in, it's A Man of a Thousand Faces, I think, story of Lon Chaney, I think, right? And right? Yeah. And I remember being fascinated. Really, when I saw movies, my brother Robert's here, and I think some of my other siblings are here, but we seldom went to a theater. We had one car and 95 kids, so and Dad was at work one way or another, so yeah. How I really was introduced to movies was basically through television, through black and white TV, and occasionally you'd go down to the Parkway or the Roxy and see a movie. And I remember being at home and seeing this movie, and it's a story of Lon Chaney it was basically about his artistry as through makeup and all different types he played, and there was a scene from him in where he plays Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I just thought that, and then when I loved westerns as a kid. I just loved anything having to do with horses. A guy on a horse in the West, I'm sold. It could be the worst movie in the world, didn't matter. I was in. But I always felt when I play outside, it was never enough. It never felt good enough to look at something on a screen. I had to know what it was like to be. I actually wanted to be those things. It wasn't good to go. I didn't go, I'd like to grow up to be an actor so I could do that. Actually, I was really weird. I actually wanted to be that. You know what I mean? So that's the way I used to have a book several books. I had this great book, I've talked about this before, I did a great book that was about famous escape stories, and most of them were POW escape stories. And I'd read them over and over again. I'd do that, I'd read about cowboys or anything I was a ridiculously cliched kid, and I had this book, and I remember I'd read them at night before I go to bed, and I would set the book down and I'd try to imagine exactly what it was like. Not wow, that's really exciting. I just needed to know exactly what it was like, or wanted to know exactly what it was like to have this experience, which actually came in really, really handy when I chose this as a profession.
Why do you think your career has spanned decades while other stars have burned out?
Diet, mostly. Yeah, I try to stay away from sugar. No, I don't know, that's fortunate, and possibly because, like I say, I always thought the job description was, you're going to be this in this television show or movie, and then you'll be that and that, and I thought that's what you were supposed to do. The likelihood of that happening to anybody who does this for a living is so small, and I totally understand it. It's a corporate thing. It is. The studios are owned by big corporations, and they have a profit margin, and their films' usual profit margin is very slim. So they're not men or women who are heads of these giant decision-making conglomerates who are saying, we're looking for some kind of quirky little art movie. They're not looking for that. And you and I would not be looking for that either. We're going to say, what's, at the end of the year, how much money are we making? How much money are we losing? So, if you look back, there are very, very, very few actors who didn't play some version of what they do all the time. It has nothing to do with how good they are, I don't think. They just, Gary Cooper really didn't, who I love, by the way. Helena, Montana is where he's from. In fact, there's a piece of his old ranch that's just come up for sale, I saw recently. And I'm not buying it, by the way. So, if you really look at him, there's not a lot of change there. Because he's Gary Cooper. Why would you? He's handsome and great and kind of talk like that. And people want it. People said, I'm sure people said to him, I don't want to see you doing that. Show up and do that because that's what I paid you for. Me, I think I earned it, but it's not a luxury. It's what I wanted to do, and I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Frankly, is play something. So maybe it's that, I can make fair living doing comedy for a while, then I could jump out and do another, and then all of a sudden I could play something that's really different. So if you're a utility player on a baseball team, and you keep yourself kind of healthy and you hang around long enough, you can play for a lot of teams and you might land on a championship team here and there. Otherwise, I don't. And good fortune, I would say, would be the other thing. Diet and good fortune. I could have just said that.
Michael, you have a Rochester connection here.
I do, my brother Robert.
Your brother Robert. Do you have any stories that you can tell of us? Are there, obviously you have some family here, you have a personal connection.
Yeah.
Just give us a rundown of just some things
I'll
you
just
remember.
give you a tip. You may see some of them walking around, because we all look similar, because we all come from the same mother and father, so you might recognize somebody who looks like me. Just kind of don't make eye contact. Really, seriously, avoid them. No, avoid them, really. Don't just talk your leg off. And they're getting to the point, all of them, because they're really old people. They're getting to the point now where it's kind of, they just, they're repeating themselves a lot. If they start a sentence with, hey, did I tell you? Just go, yeah, you told me. I know your feet are swelling. You told me your feet are swelling. So just avoid that.
How does it feel to be back?
Try to.
How does it feel to be back here?
Horrible. It's just horrible. No, it's great. I was here a couple times with Robert playing golf, and I used to play golf at his club. And I like this part of the world. It's nice. First of all, this time of year it's so lush, green. It's so nice to be around. But I'm up. If you go down to where I'm from in Pittsburgh and cities like Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo, and here, and all those. I kind of pull for those kind of cities. They, you go have their ups and downs, and I just like to see those people kind of win. If it's not the Steelers, I want to see the Bills win.
Mr. Keaton,
Yeah.
a pleasure to speak to you, by the way.
Thanks.
I've always been curious if you based your stage name of Keaton
No.
on... Oh, darn.
No, I'm proud, that's why I said at the Golden Globes, my name's Douglas, that's my name. And I like my name. That came because I can almost tell you where I was, I think I remember where I was sitting. I was in an apartment that I shared with a couple guys right then that I knew since grade school actually. They were going to law school in California, and the other guy was, I forget what we were all working at a bar at night, to make a living, and I'd gotten a job. Just for as many times, you can't be there's Mike Douglas and Michael Douglas, so I had to change my name. And I was kind of saying, I need something. How about this? I almost call myself, this is true. I don't know if George is here yet, my brother, but my name's John. And so, where I come from, you get nicknames, and so it'd be John, Johnny, and that my brother for a while called me Jackson. And I thought, what's that? Oh, I'll call myself Michael Jackson. I was that close. That's how stupid that whole process was. So I did a JK, I went to the K, it was probably in the Ks, and I was running by. Because all I had to do was sign something. They kept bugging me. You gotta sign this thing. You need the contract, we need it in. It was an AFTRA. they're still after, right? They're SAG and after, so it was a television thing. And I had a sign because you had to sign this thing in order to make, I think, like $271 or something. So I had to come up with something. So I was in the case. I thought, this is not. No, it turns out I happen to be a fan of Diane and Buster a lot, actually, coincidentally. And actually, I never thought I'd keep this name. I thought I'd come up with a really, really cool, awesome name, and I just never got around to it.
That's a good name. It's a good name.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. But you know, yeah. But I'm trying to slowly trying to ease my real name back into the deal here. I'll figure that out somehow. But oddly, Michael Douglas is a terrific guy and a terrific actor. That's not his name. How about that? Kirk's name was something, the Russian name, right? The Russian Jews, I think. Yeah. So.
All right, one more question?
What is it about Ray Kroc that you may want to play?
I'm sorry?
What is it about Ray Kroc that you
You know, like I said, you think you know the story of Ray Kroc. First of all, I didn't know there were McDonald's brothers, and I don't think I'm tipping anything here when you see the movie, because I think you kind of get that in the trailer. That trailer's great, right? Yeah, the movie's really good. And so I didn't know this the story, right? So, and you think like I said, you think you know how that all worked, but you don't. And so I was reading about it, and I thought, at first I wasn't sure about it, because somebody said we're making this movie, and I thought, okay, but I wanted to meet John, because he's worth meeting. John Hancock, really, really good writer, really good guy, really good writer, really good director, and all that. So we talked about it, and the first thing I said was, or if I did it, I said, here's what I don't believe in. He, you know, this guy, toward the end of his life, is not the most wonderful person in the world. You know, I mean, I'm sure he is a wonderful person, probably was, basically, because maybe all people are, whatever, but he did some bad stuff. And I said, I'm not pulling off of that. So if you want me to some point go, well, you know, he's really kind of nice. I mean, I ain't doing that. Because I always find that kind of cowardly, and it happens 9 times out of 10, you know. And I don't find, as an actor, I'm just not interested. So, unless the guy's supposed to be, you know, that. But it was really, it's a really, really interesting story. It's kind of the quintessential American story, really. He even references his name. Well, I don't want to tip that. I'm not going to tell you that. But like where his name comes from, you know, which is what we all are, we're immigrants, you know, and basically, right? It's where we all come from somewhere else. Unless you're a Native American, you come from somewhere else. So it's this really great story of the free enterprise system, capitalism, America at that time, it's the story is so interesting, and he was a really interesting person, turns out. And I played a person who exists or existed I think three times now, which is kind of hard. That's not like my favorite thing. I find it. I like playing Robbie, but Robbie Robinson in Spotlight, and he's become a friend. I don't know why that felt comfortable, but it's hard. I just guess I'm lazy, and I go, oh God, I got to do this, and so I kind of got as close as I could. But his story is so interesting, and I've said this before. Okay, so you say, who do you base it on? There was a character. There's no character. It's a person. He's an actual person. So you got to play a person. You don't have the luxury of creating a character. You've got to say, well, this is what I know from what I read, or what I've been told, or what I've seen. And all I really did for research, to be honest with you, was I read a little bit, but there was a real basic documentary on it. And as soon as I watched it, I got it. And I didn't want to do an impression, but I had to do a little bit of how the speaking pattern was. You know, oddly in some photographs, I kind of weirdly looked like him sometimes. And I thought it was really interesting. But I based a lot of my motivation on my brother Robert, who is crazy good. And there's a scene and I'm a little bit like this sometimes when I'm not being lazy, but there's a scene in it where And I use him as my inspiration and motivation throughout the movie almost. There's a scene where beautiful shot. You see Ray cleaning up whenever he's gone at one of his franchises, one of his McDonald's. I think it wasn't his first one, I can't remember. Beautiful shot, the result. You see those arches, and you see this figure, and everybody's gone, empty parking lot, nobody working there. Scrubbing the sidewalk with a brush and broom, cleaning up. That's my brother Robert. It's me too when I'm as weird as my brother Robert. When we get obsessively workaholic-like. But I admired that about Croc a lot, actually. He's a hard-working guy, and he just, he built it, man. You got to give him credit for what he did and what he saw. It's kind of like Charles. I would say Charles Schultz. I mean, Starbucks. Is it Schwartz? What's his name? The guy who started Starbucks. Yeah, you have to know. Come on, I can't. Howard Schultz. Sorry. He was that guy. He saw it. I mean, he saw it culturally changed things. What Kroc, well, actually, what the McDonald's brothers did, because they started the concept of fast food, of an assembly line. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say, but they actually had to have certain things built, like a net, to make the assembly line work so that condiments would spin on it, or you could put condiments on a certain way. Like assembly line work and put things in a bag, and then you think, you take that for granted, but you look the way we eat now, and therefore how you live, right? I mean, you can go get food like that and take it home or eat it in your car or something. You just think that was nothing. That actually changes a lot of things as opposed to, I think I'll go get a hamburger down the street. I mean, I remember the one, is Robert still here? Did he leave? He may have gone to the airport.
He went to the airport.
Okay, but there was one that we had out on High River Boulevard outside Pittsburgh. And people have told me this, you would drive there. You would like get in your car and drive miles just to go to a McDonald's. I mean, not like you have to pass one, So I thought the story was interesting. Man, that's long-winded. So apologize.
Hey, Michael, is it true you got your start in public TV years ago?
Ish, I dropped out of school. I had dropped out of school twice. I dropped out of school in order to get back into school to make money to pay for like the next trimester or whatever I could do, and then I dropped out again. By that time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back, so my brother-in-law actually helped me get a job. My then brother-in-law helped me he's passed away. An introduction to a guy, and I think I started at $1.75 an hour, I think, working on a PBS station where you did everything. You worked on little 16-minute film crews.
KQV, right? KQV?
No, WQED, which was one of the best and earliest PBS stations around. And I would work there, and I did play at night, and I had a lot of jobs. Okay, thanks guys.